Hello guys and welcome to TFT World Set 12 Grand Finals, last day, game number 3. Enjoy.
To have, and I think we're seeing the effects and the outcome of that here for the UA. I want to highlight also the dynamics already in day 1, or day 3 rather, we changed from that top 4 playstyle into that win rate playstyle, but especially now, after a few games, players like Volta and Darkest understand their time is running out. They have to start playing already that first rate playstyle as if they were in checkmate.
Yeah, Volta started off the game with a couple of reroll compositions, right? Not that typical Volta playstyle that we saw out of EMEA, right? Not that 28% win rate kind of powerhouse that he usually shows to be.
Clement was making a point of APAC really liking to play risky, bleeding out and then trying to assemble something from there and giving tempo to that lobby. And I feel like that's kind of what Volta and Darkest have been caught in the crossfire of, but we do have our first augments coming out of the gate here for our players. A couple of interesting ones that we're seeing is Hard Commit is being offered top right corner, as well as Upgraded Adventure, which in a meta where rerolls are as good as they are could be interesting as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Instapick living forward, one of the strongest prismatics in this current meta, and set really with the power of artifacts for Ziyue. The player who we just mentioned has to find just a consistent 4th or 3rd in this case to rack up those points to make checkmate in this game 3, really accelerating the tempo of what could be a 4-game tournament.
Midfield, we already seen him so prevalent in the reroll line, already getting the prismatic ticket, and with the Eldritch reroll line, so we will probably see that Nila 3 with the Syndra 3.
All right, just Giant and Mighty here for YBY1, a player who dominated the first couple days of competition, right? Had a 6-point lead after day 2. Right, kind of a middling start here in day number 3, but YBY1, right, who sung his praises, definitely looked at as a tournament favorite here.
And also YBY maybe thinking of a long tournament, he's getting his calories in. I love to see this. So it's good. Normally they're very focused, they're not drinking anything, so good to see him in his comfort zone.
On the flip side, for midfeed is already on a Syndra with a tier on the, just reroll heavy game plan basically with Syndra here. And as I mentioned across the first 2 days with a reroll meta, posturing to everyone else, I have prismatic ticket, I'm gonna have way more econ than you, do not try and contest me, leave me alone on Syndra.
Yep.
It was an 8 for Volta last game, so maybe the current idea in this day 3 not ideal.
Well, you both called it out. So Ziyue and Midfield currently holding on to Syndra's, trying to maybe cook something up there. I don't think Syria will stick around with it. We'll see what else comes on through. But that first artifact surely did not give you the direct Syndra line. Notably also, Volta back on something we saw him on yesterday, so playing around the upward mobility, saying this is where I want to be. How do you feel about Rupe?
Yeah, I was just looking at Darkest here, that actually going for, as we were saying, he has to take risks, he has to go for something for cap, and he's jumping up levels. He's already level 6 with the going long, and trying to go for the most cap board that we already saw winning the first game, the Dragon Shapeshifter line.
I think with how far Darkest is currently in, only 6 points right now in this day 3, they want the tournament to go long, so it really does make a lot of sense to pick up this prismatic augment at 2-1 in game 3.
Very fitting, tells the story very nicely, thank you.
I appreciate it. I hope we can get there. What were you guys thinking? I mean, obviously now it's looking like there is a chance for a 4-game tournament without jinxing too much, but Gwen coming on through on 2-3, sure, pick it up for now. But what were you guys thinking going into day 3 where we're going to get it?
I'm thinking 5, normally like 2 people, 3 people there in the cutoff and then ramping up, but a little more could be good also, 6 maybe?
If Volta and Darkest were at 15 points, I would say 5, but because they are not, I will say 7, 8. I think is my favorite.
Into the day specifically, not right now, but okay.
Yeah, you're cheating here. You're already looking at the results, see what happens.
My biases are too strong. Sorry, Mix. I'm just going to ignore part of that question that you asked.
I was feeling a little spicy today. I thought we were going to be over early, with 4 games. I thought it would be YBY1, though, because of the dominance in day 1, day 2. But it could be Ziyue, right? Over in 4. Just needs 5 points in this game, right, to get into that check position. So maybe 4 is still on the table.
We've been there. Panda and I both. Runeterra Reforged, when Tidal took it all, that was 4 games. And that was like watching a train just zoom past you. Like you're standing really close and you just know there's nothing you can do to stop it. It was incredible to witness.
For any of our Jinx players, there is a Wukong with a cloak as well. ideal for any Wukong Jinx players. For Balmyoung, we did see on the opposite side there was playing into the Ahri line. His best performing reroll in the first 2 days, a 3.0 average, so must be feeling very comfortable, especially with 4 Ahris already. Finds it here for her as well.
Yeah, fantastic pickup there. Getting that blue buff super early really accelerates the power of that composition. It's going to have a lot of time, too, with that tiniest Titan.
Getting a look at all of the boards here as well. I'm seeing a lot of Ahri and Syndra being held for now. Question, though, is Darkest potentially? Nah, okay, I just remembered we're going long. I was thinking, is there a world where maybe we see the Warwick come back up?
Oh.
No, not on this one.
Hey, we saw that yesterday, right? And it went first place.
Volta,
so,
yeah?
Yeah, it was Volta. Not a comp we see very often, but hey, there's a spot for it, right? And that's always the creative fun of TFT, making those unorthodox lines really work out.
We saw several Aris, but Balmyoung maybe with the better spot already having the Ari. So normally we see it with the reroll in the early game trying to get the 1 cost. He doesn't have 1 cost, but he already has 4 Aris. So maybe there will be a little more tempo into the game. Go fast level 6, go for the Ari 3, and then maybe pop up maybe one other 3-star.
And the posturing is clear already. Players scouting, understanding what are you all playing for? What do I have to go to play uncontested? The Ahri, you're holding on to the Lilies and Poppies because there is a Syndra player holding on to Vanguards, for example. You don't want a contested front line. Instead, go for the lower cost, 3-1 roll down for those 1 costs.
Yeah, very key not leveling as well, so still keeping that option open in a myriad of ways, of course, right? Those Vanguards being contested. It was when that Ahri maybe falls down into that bottom 4.
There could be a potential contest between Gear, PYM, and Ziyue. Ziyue has the early Syndra with RFC, but we're seeing a Wukong, we're seeing a chain picked up on the carousel. We're seeing, obviously, that Ziyue has noticed that there is already a Syndra reroller on Prismatic Ticket. You can't really fight against that in terms of the stage 3 roll downs. Wants to pivot into potentially Jinx instead with a Wukong pair in stage 2.
Yeah, absolutely. The Wukong pair is crucial. Also, that rapid fire cannon in the backline, right, is a very serviceable Jinx item. So definitely going to be looking to be that direction, but still maybe win streaking all of stage 2.
Yeah, also Ziyue with that. I'm thinking something else. Maybe in the bottom right we see there the multi-striker. So maybe multi-striker casting in line could be an option for him also.
The battle for the 5 win here.
Ziyue fighting it out with YBY1. Golem does come in from the Eldritch trait.
I like YBY. He's already thinking so strong, slamming here, the statics, thinking of a Briar on stage 2-6. So great to see.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have the components, you might as well.
True. Even if you don't land into a Briar, right, Starix is still not a terrible just tank item generically. So not bad to get rid of those components. Get some little extra power and get the 5 win streak into Krugs, right? Crucially beating Ziyue in that round. And that's the power of Starix.
This Wukong 2, despite no Jinx, maybe already fully commits Ziyue into playing for the Jinx 3 and the Wukong 3. Living Forge, you've seen a few times already this tournament played into the Wukong Jinx as well, with a few artifacts really helping out the Jinx, the Gold Collector in some cases, the frontline items especially for Wukong. He uses so many of those tank items well. Weirdly enough though, this is the first Jinx game from Ziyue if he commits to it in this entire tournament.
The line is open, right? That's kind of the big kicker here. Usually you don't want to go there if you have that strong hunter lean on somebody else in the lobby. Thus far, it looks to be somewhat okay.
Kind of
okay.
the door's like the door's unlocked, but
The door is unlocked.
I was looking
PYM.
for Jinx and Wukong on those boards. I didn't see one, but
PYM might
okay.
open the door here soon because there's a Wukong on the bench. There's a raid
I think,
Quicksilver.
yeah, the items are maybe locking the door now.
There is a Shojin though,
I
right?
take it back.
That doesn't fit into that composition. Maybe Kog'Maw,
Kog'Maw
right?
could be, yeah, the
Kog'Maw
holder.
can use
Yeah.
it, but it depends if we roll for a Kog'Maw 3 and how much of a backline threat that he can be.
And the idea why the Shojin there isn't too bad is because you have buried treasures, so you have an
Yes.
excess of items anyway. Having an item and starting to build towards a tertiary carry is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Usually Olaf can be, of course, a Kog'Maw as well.
Yeah, that's also great just for that composition, right? Items on the Wukong, the Jinx, the Kog'Maw, and the Olaf. Buried treasures really leans into that super nicely.
just a quick call out, because Gear was the player that we've been seeing play a lot of Honeymancer. The most played comp for Gear was 3 times on the Honey line, so something he's obviously very comfortable with a bunch of Jinx also being played, so knows his way around the lines of the contest on this comp quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. I mean, 2 games of Jinx throughout the 13 games we've seen thus far, so definitely comfortable on that line as well.
I like this from Ziyue. Doesn't roll down on 3-1. Instead, wants a slow roll on level 5. Thinking, hey, I'm going to spike a little bit later into the game. I'm going to hit RE3 at the same time, maybe as my 1 cost as well. I'm going to wait, especially for my Prismatic Augment to come up and see what the best option could be for this comp. And Balmyoung, He's the player that really has rerolled the most this tournament, has had the most success, the most unique rerolls, so he really knows all these lines to perfection.
Volta picking up that
What the
Scholar
Forge for
crown.
title?
Okay, win condition achieved. That door is open.
He's already practicing for potential checkmate. He says, let me get my reps in.
I've done this before, I can do it
He's
again.
not the only one that finds it, though. Zijuez on What the Forge as well. That is a player that needs a top 4 here, and suddenly that is a door that seems like he just needs to walk through.
Also Darkness, that he needs to go to that level 9 and get the full Shapeshifter line. He has the perfected Randuin, so it's perfect. Full HP because of the comp, and now you have the additional resistances for everyone.
And I think Ziva might not play Jinx. He might just stay onto the Syndra. He finds a mana and
Bullied
says,
off.
you know what? I was about to pivot, but if you say so, sure, I'll stay on Syndra instead.
I mean, that's the way, right? That it was supposed to be played the Wukong. He should be maybe a flexible tank that
Yep,
you can
kind of
use.
like a threat in the past.
Yeah. And now he's usually like that. So a little vintage here and good to see. And then maybe pivot when he needs actually the trade to ramp up the comp.
I love that you called it vintage to use a tank unit as a tank. I appreciate it. No, I like it. But yeah, we're seeing Darkest on the other side is currently posturing to maybe get the vertical shapeshifters unlocked. Will be contested on that line though, because YB11 picked up that shapeshifter crown, so that is a line that is not single open anymore.
Yeah, both players, right, YBY and Darkest, sitting at the top of the lobby, both of them win streaking as well, so that does lean into that kind of fast 9 shapeshifter dragon strategy. We saw in game number 1, it was contested by 2 players. They both made it into the top 4, so we could see that happen here exactly again.
Good items here. I mean, there's an option here to be played. So we have maybe Lich for maybe Wen or something on the backline. Good items for Fiora there on the Ezreal. So the Silverman especially giving so much CC crowd control. If Fiora managed to go to the backline, she could really enable the rest of the carries.
It's the frontline Ezreal too, Mix. It's the Daredevil Ezreal, right? That's what you're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it, but I'm also calling it I don't want to see it, because it's not been doing too hot, especially if there's a little bit of contest going on.
Look at the Ezreal go.
He's
doing so good, right?
Yeah, almost killed the Blitz.
I was
killed the
gonna
Blitz
say, you seem a bit overexcited about this one.
He's stunning the
I
golem.
appreciate
He's doing
it.
work. He's stunning the golem.
I think the Mordekaiser is doing work, but sure, it's the Ezreal.
5 hours later, Ezreal will cast again.
Some gold was farmed thanks to
actually
the
won.
Moguls Mill there. It's a big win for Tidal there now on a 4-win streak, heating up alongside Darkest and YBY for this stage 3. Hopefully all 3 of these players, at least some of them, will try and win these next 2 rounds and go into stage 4 with a win streak. There is a frying pan available. Midfeed does get the pickup.
Instant.
Yeah, and Midfeed is the player that's on the prismatic ticket, on the Masterwork upgrade, has built the Spear of Hiragana onto that Syndra that we're going to be re-rolling, so getting an extra emblem wouldn't be something we're quite opposed to.
Yeah, it would be it's great for him. As you were saying, maybe the frying pan has a possibility. Who got it in the end here? Balmian or Midfeed?
Midfeed. And Volta on the Scholar +1. We saw the power of Volta on the Scholar line, especially when those high rolls start hitting in stage 4.
Yeah.
Could be a player to watch out for when he spikes a little bit later in the game.
Actually, Midfeed has the Reforger, so could Reforge that into a Spat and go for a vertical Eldritch, perhaps, right? We've seen no, but actually just had 2 pans already, so going to make that into that Tactician's Shield as well for a +1 unit.
Which is really big for this reroll line in particular. Syndra has, in this entire set, really been torn between I want to roll on 6 to get my Syndra 3. I also want to pump levels to get these key units in to activate Encanter, to activate Eldritch. So it really works to perfection here, allowing Midfeed to stay lower to the ground and uses Econ really efficiently.
Yeah, it's a more compact comp playing it this way. Normally, if you wanted to go for the vertical, you go for the Nila. That's why he's not buying it. He's actually just going for the reroll line here with the Syndra with a good front line, and maybe the Cassiopeia and the Legend to have a secondary, like, single target damage.
Yeah, it looks like Balmyung has committed to the Bastion line with the Ahri, right? Took a loss that round, but still relatively healthy, right? 5 Ahris thus far is pretty on pace, I would say.
Understandably so. We've seen a lot of Vanguards taken out of the pool, Titles using them in transition. We saw, of course, the Syndra player earlier using also these Vanguards. So I think Bastion will be the more uncontested line.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bastion here is great. What's also great is finding all those extra Syndras that we are seeing from Midfeed as we hop boards over
Diana
to
for
Darkest.
Level 8 already.
Wow.
Cooking a little bit. We saw Darkest in that previous game, hard pivot out of a comp that didn't work out there. The Fairies were not open, going into the Suspicious Trenchcoat and the Fiora. this time around, we're seeing the cook go in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, you want to go for the Briar and the Smolder, but getting there is the hard part. Getting this Diana so early into the game, having already this Twitch that is falling off, but he's making good work. And so the Frost Shapeshifter line is the way to go there. He's doing great so far. I don't want to jinx him, but looks good. He has to get to level 9. He needs a lot of gold to get those legendary units up and running. So let's see. He has a good chance.
I think for Darkus, they've proven that they're able to cook when situations they need it, right? Starting off the day with an 8th just did not feel good, but to cook in game number 2 to get that Warrior Preserver into a 4th, right? And Darkus, I think, doing a similar thing here, saying, how exactly can I go for this going long strategy? Let's try to push the tempo of the lobby, be in first place, right, heading into the Wolves round. So in a great spot to, again, top 4.
Just all those jinxes in the end, there was kind of some bad news for Gear YN. There was 2 jinxes on Darkus' bench. Also, YBY1 is using that jinx as a transition unit as well with a Rage Blade Slam. So for a Prismatic ticket, force her onto the Jinx Wukong line, for example, that could have been trouble.
It could have been. We're going to be seeing a little bit of trouble also for Mia rep Volta as we are hopping over to a 10-loss streak.
Beacon loss.
You're shaking your head, David. Tell
This
me.
is Volta makes. Don't worry
Sell
about
it to me. Come on. 50 gold. We're
We
level
saw
8.
Volta
We have some items.
multiple times yesterday in spots just like these. He's level 60, 80 gold to work with. This is the key roll down.
Yep.
Needs to find the Rise 2, needs to find the Taric, needs to find the units that will fit this 6-12er line.
Even
and
a
then
Shy Meal
go to
could be
9,
interesting.
start fitting the legendaries, and win the game. It's really simple, especially for someone like Volta.
Really
Who knows how to
simple.
cap out? Who knows how to win out?
So in case you weren't really following this trajectory here, there's like a 5-streak if condition that my colleagues just planned out. Hopefully we'll see it work, but for now, Volta is going to lean back just a little bit more, say, I spent some econ, let me get it back before we go into Prismatics, and then we'll see if the roll down can come.
In Panda's credit here, I think Volta is one of the players who can meet those 5, conditions on average more than any other
Hopefully.
player, right? And I'm sure, we'll unite as the West here, right? We're gonna cheer for Volta.
And not just that, I think for Volta, this specific lobby and the way it's shaked out for this game 3, there are many players with the same exact game plan. Try and stabilize a tiny bit on level 8, and then go 9 for legendaries. We see 2 Smolder players in Darkest and YBY1 there, so there will be less players spiking to their maximum level at 4-1, at 4-2, buying more time to for Volta to do his thing.
Yeah, so mid-miss right now is when he needs to win. He's actually very strong here with the Syndra tree and also the items-less Cassiopeia. Now with the
Call to Chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Ziyue picking up a lot of gold there, if I'm seeing correctly.
Yeah, a ton of gold. I got a Vex 3. Is that as well with the Call to Chaos?
We're going to be getting word on what the Call to Chaos reward was.
Diana Mighty for Volta.
And Darkest picks up the Sniper's Focus for a potential Smolder. If they're able to reach that far, obviously a lot of players have grandiose plans, really going long into this Game 5, into that Stage 6 potential win out.
Yeah, so that Vex 3 coming on through from the Call to Chaos for Ziyue is going to help stabilize quite a bit, but a bunch of very strong augment combinations are coming out of this Prismatic party.
Stage 4 should be for mid-feed. He's very, very strong, and the rest hasn't popped up. We see the Ezreal Daredevil once again, 2-star, so he will be the holder. He's actually going up, and I think that's a reroll Ezreal Daredevil with full artifact. That's the game plan.
With the Silvermere Dawn, though, it's like he's attacking in slow motion. Just hate to see it, right? It's not looking anything like that kind of Prowler's Claw Ezreal that we saw previous days, and it gets taken down, but actually ends up winning the fight against midfeed here.
Yeah, I'm kind of like here and there about it. I think right now we just don't have a better item for that Ezreal, perhaps. So
yeah, run later.
Just trying to run 3 items as is to make him as strong as possible. But we'll be seeing where Tidal can take this. 8 wins already, 94 HP, and the rest of the lobby is starting to crumble. Keep in mind, Ziyue needs a top 4, and midfeed needs a top 1 to make check after this game. This is the big story. This is what other players are maybe even trying to deny a little bit, because if the other players are all trying to go for top 1, then they can maybe bully Ziyue out, hold the tournament for 1 game longer off of that check.
Yeah, it's looking a bit rough for midfeed here, right? 29 HP, not win streaking even after hitting that Syndra 3 and Cassio 3, though, so not sure midfeed can meet the condition. It is still very possible, however, for Ziyue.
But the SDR Daredevil is looking damaged. I think the Wei also. Wei is so amazing here. Great items for him.
Yeah.
He has such a long range to get a possibility of access to the backline. So this marksman makes that if even a small chance, a small ability gets to the backline, he totally obliterates the carry of the enemy.
And the big difference in the performance here from this Blasters comp is we've seen it across the entire tournament. You cannot play Blasters from behind if you're playing into Mages or Ahri or Syndra, and you're forced to pivot into Blasters from a low roll spot with little HP and little gold. Well, I have some bad news. You're going 8th. But in this case, off of a huge tempo win streak that you can slowly pivot into Blasters, find your 3 cost without rushing into it, hold your econ for a tiny bit longer, and stay this healthy into stage 4, this could be a win-out angle for Tidal. And Tidal's someone that I think with the creativity that What the Forge offers you, he can really make use of that.
I think so too. I'm very curious on how the final boards in this game are going to be looking like, but we need to check in with Gear because Gear is the player that's currently on the chopping block. 21 HP is 2 more losses and you're out. We do have one duplicator. Question is, what are we sending?
Yeah, all 3s was the charm taken and missed Jinx and Wukong there. Has to choose just one of them. That feels so bad.
Only one rise here for Volta. Canuck made the switch here. Bar will be a little stronger. So he's trying to hold out to the remover, doing the change now. So not the best spot here for Volta. You already need the rise 2 this far into the game.
Yeah, carrying the Bard for now, right? And that's not quite the power of the Bard 3 that we saw in day 1. It's not going to be enough damage in a lot of these fights.
Well, that depends a bit on where this Smolder's going. Clement was calling it not a very self-preserving AI, and I do agree with this approach because that Smolder sometimes goes places.
Oh, armor
Smolder
buff.
Middle of the sets, the dev team said, yep, you guys are right. Smolder does int a little bit too often. Let's give him a little something. Maybe didn't change the outcome too much in that
The
case.
question is, does the armor help when you're amongst enemy backlines?
It does something.
It'll help
surely.
with some like ambient splash damage, but if he's just flying into the enemy backline, probably not going to be the difference maker.
His ability is called learning to fly for a reason. Unfortunately, it has taken longer than we expected. You know, the training course was usually around 2 weeks long. Now it's the last day of the set really for competitive esports, and he's still trying to get there.
Little baby dragon, right? That's why he screams mom in League, right? Still needs the parental figure coming in, maybe teach him how to fly a little bit.
Volta on a win streak now, though, as is Tidal. So both players who needed to spike a little bit later, it's definitely coming in for Volta especially.
So let's talk a little bit about Ziyue, because Ziyue is kind of the story of day 3, right? In best position to get that checkpoint, like I said before, and now also on a very crazy augment combination here on back of the Living Forge and the What the Forge and the Call to Chaos, finding that Vex 3, but currently, for now, still losing.
Yeah.
Tell me this board.
Yeah, no, he's in a position to preserve HP, to try to go 5th, maybe, and exactly go for that, maybe 4th place that we need. Remember, with a 4th place, he wins the 5 points. The thing is, the board that he has, I don't think is more than a 6, so maybe he'll take a little risk, but he actually played the Syndra tempo. He doesn't look like a strong, prevalent plan, so I think he will probably miss out on that check possibility.
Even if Ziyue doesn't get the check in this game, right, certainly will in game number 4, and this is just so impressive, right? Ziyue's first championship in set 10, right? Landed in a 2nd place, coming back a couple sets later, landing in the top 8 again, right? Ziyue, that new school of China, very much impressing and carrying the region.
Crow, and I'm surprised by the certainty with which you think Ziyue might make checkmate or check in 4. He can go 8th in this game, 8th in the next.
Get 2. I mean, okay, yeah. He could land on a 6th, like Hoope was saying, right? Needs to just not get bot 2 or not bot 1 in the next game.
And I'm not blaming Ziyue's ability as a player, but there's a target on his head right now. Every single player. You can't contest and hold everyone's units, but if there's one player you choose in this game 3 and in game 4 and potentially in game 5, it will be Ziyue because he is currently the leader.
Yeah, but like we were saying, right, if Ziyue just keeps playing these level 9 compositions, it's a lot harder to grief as opposed to playing reroll.
It's also something that in the past, historically speaking, on Checkmate, we've seen players maybe not grief as much as they should have in some situations, because at the same time they're playing for points, they're trying to get up there themselves, they're trying to get those first places. So it's all about trying to go as far as you can for each one individually, and if along the way you can hold some units, yeah, you're probably going to do it, but it doesn't happen as often as you might think.
Ramping up there, the Smolder already very big. So 2-star, very, very strong, going to the backline, so getting a good win. So YB already got the Smolder, looking for the Riot, has one. So Darkest here in a die positions, he also had one of each, looking for the Diana 2. So both of them contesting them. The one who achieved the most legendary is the one who will get the first place, probably in this lobby.
And before CN, hates me for saying what I said, is free-falling 4-loss streak. The tempo game plan, I commend. I think it was the right choice. If you play reroll from this spot, you'll be doomed. Everyone will hold their units. Try to play off of just the artifacts, the Syndra as a tempo option, the Vex from Cult of Chaos. Not quite working, though.
What is working, though, is Volta's game plan, because on a 6-win streak, was able to turn this around, took forever to get that Rice off the board, will play it now, and does get those wins in, which also leads to some of these players taking hits like Midfeed right now. Darkest going up against Midfeed, and this might be the end of
Smolder,
the
what are you doing?
That Smolder does not have the self-preservation AI. We were talking about it, that little armor buff,
Look
not
at the
good
express
enough.
for
This Briar will find
He
those
knows.
backline units as well. They do manage to kill her off, though.
Varus got this. I trust in Varus. The Hail of Hellfire surely will clean up and will take down this
You should
Shyvana
trust
all
Shyvana
by
more than
himself.
Varus.
I was going to
won.
say.
As a
Yeah.
relevant and strong AD carry in the meta.
Relevant and strong. Yup. Arbalest composition, very good, of course.
Zia
Opium.
and Midfeed both able to win here is big, because every single placement that they can clutch puts them closer to the finish line, to that checkpoint that they're looking to get to. And they're currently staring at YBY1 and Gear and saying, fall.
And any commendations for my expert analysis on Volta's game plan? A 7-win streak for now, rising up to the top, stabilized stage 4. It's just Volta things. I've been watching this guy play TFT for 5 years. At one point, you start doubting.
Volta was in a great spot, right? Those 5 conditions, right? Maybe 10 conditions what Volta needs to not succeed in all of them.
He was a 10-loss streak. What do you mean he was in a great spot, Crone?
I'm not making a joke from
That's
your
great
point here.
econ is what Crone is saying, but we need to focus our attention back onto the game, because we do have both Gear and Midfeed fighting for survival here. We'll work out for Gear. On the right-hand side, the story seems to be a different one, because Midfeed just got knocked out. The dream of making check in Game 3 is not going to come together for him here.
Will not happen for Midfield, will not probably happen for CUA. He's not in the best spot, but who's very, very strong right now is Tidal. He had the Daredevil, Ezreal with the What the Forge, and everything is already 3-star. Great position.
I want to touch on why this Ezreal is actually performing so well. Visually, it doesn't seem very strong, but we're looking at an Ezreal that has Silvermere Dawn, Luden's Tempo. The overkill damage off of the ult is then spreading into the backline and killing off so many units at once, winning all of these fights.
Hoopa, you're saying Zia might not make it, but with YBY1 and Midfeed both
very
out,
low.
Zia climbs 2 more spots. Really will need Darkest and Gear to go out before him to solidify this placement to maybe get that checkpoint. And here is where it comes back to you, Panda, and players saying, you've got a target on your back, man. We are all hoping to bring this tournament into another round where it cannot be ended.
Darkest actually agrees with my call on the relevant and strong AD carry. Varus now gets the items.
Items.
Relegated to holding just normal crafted items, not the artifacts there.
Hey, game number 1, I think, was some Blaster of Varus. Really impressing, right? Took down actually some Shapeshifter boards on the other side there.
Yeah, so a lot of AoE damage maybe here for Darkest.
Wow.
It's Darkest against Gear, both of the low HP
Put the
players.
clumps on the back.
Someone is going to get knocked out, which will give Gear at least
Briar's
one
getting
more
targeted.
placement.
Briar's getting targeted so bad. Darkest and Briar's down.
I believe in
one
Smolder.
less
I
threat.
believe in Varus. The ult comes out. The Jinx is not dead, but the Smolder engaged.
Oh, technical
Just
Jinx.
barely gets the kill. Gear PYM taken down. ZUS still alive. Needs just one more placement to lock in the check, the 20 points. After this game 3, and he's taken down in 5th place. 19 points, just 1 point off of that check. The rest of the lobby, a sigh of relief. The tournament as a whole extends just a tiny bit longer.
At least game 5.
Yeah, it will not be ending in 4, right? So my prediction already wrong there. But ZOA guaranteed in check after game 4.
Yeah.
You got it, bro. An expert analysis on this couch.
Both of you were right. I commend you both. And I personally, you know, as much as I love seeing a dominant player really bringing it home in 4 games, I love that we get to see at least one more game of these top 8 great players that have been showing off all weekend long, and I am eager to see how this game will play out now that more players are inching closer towards that checkpoint.
Yeah, Darkest had that very good backline carry of Var. Still just a Smolder 1, though, so up against Bomb Young with this RE3, with Amelia was all providing all these items, right? Bomb Young,
Bright
loss
Fear
streak.
stuck in the front line, falls down once again. So everything on Smolder. Smolder falls down, and once again, the Varus. The Varus
Not
is
just
the one
Varus,
popping up.
but the shapeshift. There's just so much HP for the Ahri to chew through. Ahri excels earlier in the game when there are fewer targets. They're squishers. She can one-shot with the Orb of Perception. Not the case in that fight.
No, it's just the Varus.
Just in case you could hear some slapping noises through the mics, that was Hope celebrating Panda, okay?
Celebrating? Well, my knee did not feel like it was a celebration. I've been now attacked mentally and physically on this death. I do want to note the Varus. There is kind of the... If you ask any player in competition in Set 12, the earliest hidden tech was the Fishbone Cyber's Focus Varus. With the random attack, is able to really burst units surprisingly very early into fights.
Definitely. I also want to give props to Volta again, right? Just because that spot looked maybe not great earlier, but 6 Scholar is a fantastic win condition. Volta needs to catch up points, right? Had very poor first couple of games, right? 7th multi-strikers, 8th with Syndra. Says, all right, reroll off the table. Let's go back to the Volta style and get that top 4.
Yeah, and there it is. He goes to level 10, trying to cap up even more the war, and now there it is. The Dead Devil, What the Forge, very strong, and obviously we do look at the flashy plays of the era, but it's the way who's doing the difference. Going off against the Ghost right now, so should be a free win.
So I really like that Tidal proved us wrong here. We're kind of wondering about the Silvermere Dawn, but the way he's using that Ezreal is as a distraction. So that Ezreal just died, but in most of the other fights we've seen it was able to self-preserve at CC and distract units while keeping them away from the way, and that worked out beautifully. And despite the Ezreal going down early here, that should still be translating into a win for Tidal once that barrier does go down, and she will.
I have to say, I think this is one of the best games of the tournament. The knowledge that Tidal's displaying here in terms of the combination of artifacts on specific units that you wouldn't normally think of. You would think of 4 cost and 5 cost to really get the most from What the Forge. I mentioned again, the Ezreal carried the entirety of the mid game of this this game from Tidal. The combination is just fantastic in terms of the overkill damage.
Even the Spectral Cutlass with the Horizon focus on the Galio, right? Putting him into the back line.
Stunning the back line.
Exactly, right?
It's really, really insane. I think it's hard. It's easy to miss how good this game has been from Tidal.
Now Volta cannot get Emilio. He doesn't have enough, but he's the one going against the Ghost, the big Ghost here from Tidal. Very, very strong. So he wants to win a little more. He and Darkness are the ones with the dire position. They both with 1 HP, 1 health.
And look at the Luden's Tempest knocking out the entire left of the backline off of 1 ult from Ezreal. This is so smart from Tidal in this game 3, starting to already show what it takes to maybe win games, what it takes, the knowledge it takes to understand how to make use of this checkmate format. Volta taken out, but a big comeback from the French player.
The question is, who does Darkest face, and is it Tidal as well? Tidal's unit frame there goes on fire, and that is its double elimination for Tidal against the 2 EMEA players trying to stay in this tournament. Was only on 7 points. That is now going to change. Puts himself in a great position to make that checkpoint in the next game.
I just want to say one thing. Tidal found a way. He found a way, so it was so good to see him with perfect items on that way, creative Nif Death on the Dead Devil, and also he found the Mordekaiser 3 early into the game, recognized that someone else was playing the Wujings, and it was perfect. I don't know if he has this line prepared, but if he did, genius. If he didn't, more genius.
I think Tidal has every line prepared. I think every combination of augments and items and units that can be played, Tidal has probably gone through the data and looked at it. I think this is a player that, looking back at Senai and Terra Forge, the way he played that last game to win it all, the way he used, I believe, was the Frost Ishtal on this Mordekaiser to buy time in Stage 3, he's someone that, when it matters most, showcases some of the most creative and big brain and 5G TFT we've ever seen.
Absolutely. A What the Forge masterclass here from Tidal, right? Leaning into that Vanguard Hui. Ezreal, right? Where I have my doubts about the Ezreal in the front line, right? It looked very silly in the early game, but I was proven wrong, and everyone else was proven wrong in that game as well as Tidal took it.
Well, that's actually the great part about TFT, because while it is silly, it's also incredibly fun and incredibly smart sometimes to do silly things, which Tidal just proved here once more. And what an amazing